Last week I was having lunch with a client who's actually become a friend over the years. We were talking about the home that he and his wife bought over in Bradenton when he mentioned to me that they were talking about putting in a pool. His first question, would it ever get the cost back out of the pool when he goes to sell it? And the honest answer is no, you're not going to get it back. Putting in a pool around this area is going to cost you $150,000 for a basic pool with an eye. Then you go ahead and put on the cost of heating it. You're adding another $5,000 to $7,000 to the cost of that pool. And trust me, in Florida, you're going to need heat in the winter if you're going to want to get into it. I'll guarantee you I'm not going to get into it unless that temperature is above 80 degrees. His next question was, will it add value to the house when I do sell it? And the correct answer is yes. Houses that do not have a pool will normally have a lower interest level than a home with a pool, assuming they're similar homes. However, the appraiser who goes out and does the appraisal at the home is not going to give you 100% of the cost of the pool. You might get 30, maybe 40% of that cost. A pool will make it more attractive to a potential buyer. We get several buyers from out of state, mostly New York, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. The places that you just don't normally have a pool in the backyard. It's cold too much of the year to justify a pool. God only knows why, but they want a pool when they get down here. So when does a pool make sense? If you have kids and you want to raise them in the pool, that's a definite reason to have one. We had a pool for our kids. It was a very good thing. Outside of that, it's purely a lifestyle thing. Long term, it can be worthwhile. However, if you're thinking about selling a house for the next 2, 3, 5 years, definitely not a good investment. Before I get too far along, my name is Mike Lavoy. I am a broker associate here in Tampa, Florida, with Dalton Wade Real Estate. We work with people all the time who want to sell their house, and if you're thinking about doing it, we'd love to talk to you. My team and I have been helping people from the Bay Area for 20 years. If you have questions about selling a house in the Bay Area, feel free to give me a call. My number is down below, and you can text that number as well. Another room people think they have to completely gut and upgrade to sell is the kitchen. And again, if you're not going to get your money out of it. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a couple that were thinking about selling their house up in Spring Hill. We got around to talking about their kitchen and what they should do before they get ready to sell it. One realtor they talked to earlier in the day told them they should completely gut the entire room and redo it. Again, that is an option you can do, but you're not going to get your money back out of it. Around here, putting in a kitchen that size is going to cost $50,000 to $70,000. That new kitchen is not going to add that much value to the house. The kitchen did need some updating, no doubt about it. My question was to take out the laminate countertops, put in some quartz, maybe a backsplash, and paint the cabinets, maybe. Even in that option, the cabinets were not in that bad a shape. They were just the old style brown oak cabinets that were put in houses in that point in time. My argument against painting the cabinets was that the buyer could still be able to see that oak grain right through the paint. My suggestion was to keep the cost of the total operation about $10,000 to maybe $15,000. For that amount of money, the kitchen could look very nice. Gutting the kitchen and putting in a new one, or even rearranging the island to make it look different, is going to be cost prohibitive if you plan on selling the house within 2 or 3 years. You're just not going to get 100% of the cost back out of that money. Sure, it's going to look a lot better with a new kitchen, but with a little paint and sprucing up, it do just as good a job in the short term. Another area people like to spend a lot of money on is the bathrooms. I have been in some older bathrooms with pink and green tile. It was put up in the 1960s. That is going to have to be dealt with, but most homes that have been built in the last, 20 years or so do not need major refurbishment done on the bathrooms. I would never suggest completely gutting a bathroom just to put in new tile and make it look good. Some paint, maybe some new trim tile, glass doors on the shower, maybe. Work with what you got. If it's green tile from the 60s, then you're going to have to take it off and redo it. But like I said about the kitchen, a little bit of paint, some new lights, plumbing fixtures, and a little bit of lipstick, it can make it look very nice at a reasonable price. Just like the kitchen, the bathrooms need to look nice and be functional, but they do not need to be brand new. One question that comes up is about the roof. Your roof is getting old, maybe 15 to 16 years. Should you replace the roof up front and just be done with it? Again, the answer is no. You're not going to get the money out of the roof by replacing it, so don't do it. Yeah, I understand the roof is getting old. I don't care if you got a 30-year guarantee on the roof. In Florida, you're only going to get about 18 to 20 years out of a shingle roof. A new roof can cost $25,000 or something like that for a 3,000 square foot house. What I tell people is to get a roofing contractor out there, take a look at it. It may just need a shingle replacement or some tacking down of what's existing loose shingles. As long as there's no gaping holes or leaks, you're good to go. So let's assume at the time of the inspection, you're out there about 18 years on the shingle roof. The inspector is certainly going to make note of that on the inspection report. The buyer is more than likely going to come back with a request to replace the roof based off that inspection report. And if and when they do, you as a seller can make that as a negotiation point. Just like anything else in this process, the request is negotiable. Of course, you have the option to say no, but you might want to be prepared for the buyer to back out of the deal. My suggestion would be to go back to the buyer and offer to pay, for half the roof. Let the buyer pay for the other half. You'd be surprised how many times that works. Paying for half the roof is a lot better than paying for the whole entire thing. It's even assuming they even come back with a request. They may just take it as it is. So let's talk about doors and windows for just a minute. The doors are pretty much simple. If they're not beaten up, leave them alone. New doorknobs, new hinges, a little bit of paint, and they'll be just fine. It's that lipstick thing again. The one door that needs to be reckoned with is the front door. As your potential buyer walks up to the front of the house, you want them to be impressed with the approach up to the door. If your front door looks like it came out of the 1950s, you might want to think about replacing it, and replace it with something other than the cheapest door you can find down at Home Depot. Maybe you put an opaque glass insert into it. Remember, you don't want to ruin all that landscaping you did to make your house look good just because you went with a cheap, solid metal door. I also had a lot of questions about the door going from the house into the garage. Apparently, in some states where these people are coming from, a self-closing door is required. Well, they're not required here in Florida. However, I get buyers who request one to be put in, installed as part of the inspection. That option is yours. Just be prepared for it. The windows are a different thing. Replacing windows is flat out expensive. You're talking maybe $30,000, $40,000. And if you're planning on selling the home, no way will you ever get the money back out of it. The reason to replace windows is to save expenses on heating and cooling. Those savings will take decades to recover that cost of those windows. Yeah, I've had people ask me if the windows, are they hurricane rated? Whether they are or not has never directly affected the sale of a home. If the windows are cracked, broken, yeah, that's going to have to be addressed. Some of the windows I've seen have gotten fogged up because the glass in between the two panes has gone bad. Those windows, they're going to need to be replaced or at least dealt with. But to be arbitrarily replace all the windows in a house, no, don't do it. If you've lived in Florida for more than 2 months, you know how important air conditioning is. The air conditioning system is probably the second most contentious part of the inspection report. Between the air conditioning and the roof, I don't know which one is dealt with more. If the air conditioning in your house is up to manufacturer standards, it should not be an issue. However, you're going to get the buyers who are going to say that the air conditioning is 20, 25 years old or whatever. They're going to ask for a credit on the purchase price of the house to replace the air conditioning unit. That's going to be $8,000 to $10,000 per unit. So if you have a 2-unit house, you're talking a chunk of change. Air conditioning issues can be a deal killer. Once in a while, you're going to get a buyer who just doesn't understand that the air conditioning, although it's old, still works fine. My sellers sometimes want to put the money into it, don't want to put the money into it, or give credit because they believe the air conditioner is working fine, and it is. That said, 2 wrongs don't make a right. As a seller, you have to consider the fact that the next buyer that comes along is probably going to want the same thing. So do you give up on this deal and start all over again? That's a decision that only you're going to be able to make. Let's not forget the exterior. Florida has some very humid weather. That humidity breeds mold on houses. If the outside of your house is covered with a bunch of green mold, have it cleaned, maybe paint it. Look up at the outside of the house. If you have a tile roof and it looks black from the mold, you might want to consider getting it cleaned too. The same thing goes to a lesser extent for shingle roofs. Curb appeal is once again important. A couple years ago, even an ugly house would have sold. Not anymore. Take a look at that landscaping. Are things trimmed back? Are they green? Do they look healthy? You may just need to spread a little mulch around. I mentioned windows earlier. No, you should not replace them, but cleaning them will certainly help. Wipe them off on the inside and the outside, and maybe wash those screens while you're there. I realize that wallpaper is making a comeback. What I don't want you to leave up is something that looks like it came out of the 1970s. You know, something your grandmother had as a border along the ceiling. Taking it down is not easy or fun, but it will certainly make a difference. I have a video on what you should do to improve your house's chance of selling. I'll put the link down below in the comment section. If you are in the Tampa area and are thinking about selling your house, I would be happy to answer your questions. Give me a call. Let's talk about your home and what you can do to make it get ready to sell for top dollar. My contact information is down below on the screen as well as in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.